I'm Mike.
And I'm Adam.
And this is Stuff and Waffle. Two friends talking about stuff, and often as not, waffling with frequent reference to Bond cars.
We're picking up from where we left off last week. Matt had just finished telling us about yet another accident. But now we're about to delve into the world of BMW. Well, go on then. You've mentioned BMWs then, so...
I've mentioned BMWs, yes.
So what did you have?
I have had... How many have I had? I think I've only had the two, actually.
Okay.
When I met Mike, I believe I was I driving the 530?
Well, I think you had it. The actual first time we met, you were driving a Mondeo.
That would have been Ali. What, the red one?
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, I think that was...
big headlight Mondeo. Yes.
That's right. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, scared Mondeo.
Yes.
So
yes.
I...
but I think you did have the BMW
the
at the time, but where was the Mondeo you were in? Yeah.
So yes, so a car at that time was a BMW 530i, an E60, WA04 something. I can't remember the rest. Oh. That was one of the first cars I think that I had on one of these PCP finance deals, and the only reason that I didn't keep that car longer was because it got to the end of its agreed period and it was basically worth less than the balloon payment. So I thought, what's the point?
Just give that back.
Yeah.
I offered to buy it at a reduced price, but they wouldn't have it.
No, they never do. They never do.
And I subsequently discovered that it had been collected by them. I'd just given it back, walked away, been collected by them, gone to British car auctions, and they'd got $2,000 less for it than I had offered them.
So stupid.
Knobheads.
So stupid. Yeah. But they so rarely will do deals at the end of PCPs.
Yeah. I owed 8. I owed 8. The car was worth 6, and I offered them. Is that right? No, I owed 8. The car was worth 6. I offered them 6, and it sold at auction for 4.
That worked out well then, didn't it?
That's a good business model, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a really shrewd deal they worked out there.
So so that went and was replaced actually by a much older BMW. I think the only other one that I've had, unless I can remember, which was a very good friend of mine who sadly no longer walks this mortal coil, which some might consider to be an advantage, was a BMW 740i E32.
Oh, now you're talking.
Oh, that's tasty.
That was that was an H registration.
They are lovely.
Yes.
Proper vehicle, that.
Yeah, it is.
And I would say, that is the most comfortable car I've ever driven. I did thousands and thousands, probably tens of thousands of miles in that car. And I would say that is, even compared with my current transportation, I would say that was the most comfortable car that I've ever had. It literally was a leather armchair on wheels.
Those are proper sinister looking as well, especially in a dark colour. Those are really evil.
Mine was burgundy, the burgundy red I had.
Oh, nice.
With that.
Very nice choice.
But it was lovely car, automatic. And getting it in steer basically and waft to wherever you wanted to go. I would probably, if my current ride, my 2009 Jag XJ didn't have the stupid sports wheels on the limousine model, it might come up to the standard of...
Yes, if you had some smaller alloys on that, a bit more rubber. Yeah.
If it had more rubber and not the stupid low 20-inch BBS drug dealer alloys.
Oh dear.
That
well, they're standard to the car. They are original.
Yes, they are original, but I just don't like them. And it's not. I mean, they don't look too bad, I suppose. I mean, they don't suit that model of the car. I get that they work on the XJR, and even maybe just the slightly sportier versions of the car, but not
sport premium. Yeah,
not the long wheelbase limo.
Yours is a Sovereign. It shouldn't have those wheels.
Mine's
really.
a Sovereign.
Yeah.
And I mean, certainly in terms of interior comfort and noise suppression and seat comfort, it's probably on a par with the BMW. But I just can't. You still feel bumps and cracks, and you shouldn't in a car like that at all.
There's one on eBay for $3,500 in the same color you've described, the dark red.
Oh dear.
There's an E32. It's a 730i rather than the 740i.
Right.
But yeah, it's yeah.
It was, but that was a lovely car, and I did something silly in that. I not an accident, but I was one of those idiots that thought, the water's not that deep.
Oh shit!
No.
So, and no, the water wasn't that deep, but the air intake was that low.
Yes.
The downfall of many moments like that.
Indeed. Fortunately, our good friend James Harding, him of Alpha Ragazzi at Barnstable, by way of throwing him a little piece of advertising. He
lovely
managed to lovely motors, yeah, very good, yeah, free duffel coat with every order, and yes, he managed to basically he took the head off, kept it turning over until all the water came out, and put it back together, and miraculously it worked again.
Lovely,
very good.
So yes, it was bad. But when I was stuck in the middle of the water, this was at Landcross, where it floods in that dip.
Yeah.
And so yes, I broke down on that. I was on my way to see a client with some laptops. Had it not been for the fact that they were desperate for these machines, I wouldn't have even gone. But bloody customers. But so I drove. So I was stuck in the middle of this and thought, right, well, need international rescue here. So you do what you do when you've been living in a Devonian village for a few years, and you phone the farmer.
Oh yeah, anyone's got a tractor.
Yeah. And hello, Ross. I've been a bit silly here. And anyway, he came along with his tractor to tow me out. But the kind of the funny bit of the story was that he had his then very young son with him. Was still quite young, but he was probably only, I don't know, 3 or 4 then, who'd come for a ride with Daddy in the tractor to pull this idiot out of the puddle. And they pulled up, and I got out of my car and waded back to them and said hello. And he's also a Charlie, as is my youngest son. And I said, hello, Charlie. And he said, hello, Matt. Why have you parked there?
A very good question.
And I thought, if ever a 4-year-old was destined for greatness,
I was going to say he's made a 6'7" man look very small there.
Yeah,
he's assessed the situation perfectly.
Yeah,
he knows exactly what's going on.
Young Charlie Hedden, son of Ross and Nicky in Weir Gifford, Devon. If he's destined for greatness, and I believe it started on that day by me being a prick. So there we are. So yeah, I think that's the 2 BMWs. I don't think I've got anything else that I particularly want to bring to the party. I mean, there's a few others which have been interesting. Like Phil, I've had a number of rovers. I managed to I done with Rovers in my time? Well, I managed to destroy the gearbox in the aforementioned SD1 that was my father's car.
Excellent work.
Well, you're a young driver. It's a reasonable size engine car. Sadly, it wasn't the 3.5, although that probably would have just made it worse.
Yeah, that would have been death, I think.
And it's, it's got a... It ain't going to mind having the nuts revved off it in first gear and then the handbrake let go, surely.
Sure,
that'd be fine. Yeah.
Oh dear.
But it did. I managed to destroy the gearbox in that. As I said before, it was his company car at the time, and they had one of these sort of mechanical insurance policies for their fleet. They probably ran a couple of 100 cars at the time. So yes, he managed to get it fixed and asked me to, if you wouldn't mind awfully not doing that again, I'd appreciate it. Kind of conversations.
Sort of explained it to you.
Yeah. So yes, so done that. There is actually a good story involving another one of my father's cars.
Oh no, go on then.
Volvo 740 GLE Estate.
Fine choice.
Yes. Again, lovely car. His company car, but which I drove a lot. And I drove a lot because I believe it or not, I mean, I'm about to say two things that I know neither of you will believe, but when I was younger, I didn't used to drink very much alcohol, and I used to have several friends.
I'm not sure which of those is least believable.
So evenings and weekends, when Carr was at home and a few of us wanted to go out, he would allow me to take his car because I could fit more people in comfort. Because it did have the fold-up seats in the boot facing backwards.
Yep, very good.
So yes, I would drive because, as I say, I wasn't really bothered whether I had a drink or not in those days when I was out and about, and whereas now I need several even if I don't go anywhere.
Oh, absolutely.
And and as I say, and I had occasion to go out with 6 people, and I can't ever imagine when that would be the case these days unless they were all guards. So yes, one day out with a few friends of mine, and there's I dropped one of these guys off at a railway station, actually a railway station, a village called Raysbury, which is somewhere where I used to live and still have friends in, just near Staines, near Heathrow Airport. And the village where the Magna Carta was signed, everyone thinks it was actually signed at the memorial to it on Runnymede, but it was actually signed on the road leading from Raysbury to Staines. But there you go, piece of unrelated trivia.
Oh, well,
a bit of history there.
Absolutely. You don't get to my age without knowing where the Magna Carta was signed, I like to uphold the rights of Magna Carta. It's like Tony Hancock says, must uphold the beliefs of Magna Carta. She must not die in vain. So yes, driving back, dropped him off at Raysbury train station called Sunnymeads. Raysbury train station is on the outskirts. Sunnymeads is in the middle. Dropped him off there. Drove along. Guy called Steve Mayton, bit of a sad story, actually. I mean, he's my age or possibly even, or was a couple of years younger, and died a couple of years ago. Very sad. Anyway, at the time, he was the source of the amusement. And dropped him off, drove away, sort of started accelerating down the road, and whoever was sat in the back, can't remember, shouted, "Stop! He's running after us."
Oh dear.
And I stopped. I stopped very rapidly to coincide with his maximum velocity in trying to catch us up.
Oh no.
And he came in through the back windscreen.
Oh no.
Oh shit.
I tell you, you've got to be. There's some Newtonian physics going on there that says, that he wasn't going slow, and I stopped very quickly.
Oh dear, yeah.
And
the stopping distance of a full-speed dickhead is quite different.
Yeah. So and he didn't. So, yes, he came in through the rear window of my dad's 740 GLE estate. So that was another fairly sheepish conversation with my father that evening.
Oh dear, sorry, Dad. There's a person-shaped hole in the rear of your vehicle.
Yeah, if I recall, he was in the bath when I got home, and I said, "I really need to speak to you," and he sort of appeared dripping wet in his dressing gown and said, "What is it?" And I thought, I probably should have let you finish your bath first.
Yes. Oh, dear. Well, if anything, he crashed into you, so it's fine.
Well, exactly. You see, again,
there is that.
That's true. Wasn't my fault. No,
that wasn't irresponsible driving. It was irresponsible running.
So yes, well, all running is irresponsible as far as I'm concerned.
Well, yeah,
that's one, isn't it?
True. There's no other kind.
It's not a method of transport.
It's not.
No, it's not. I mean, I enjoy it as much as the next man, but yeah, I can't understand this running lark. I don't know. So yes, that was a little another little story about cars.
Well, go on then. I think to summarise your collection, then, what's been your absolute favourite?
Okay. I'll tell you what my cars have been best at, and then I suppose I'll have to pick a number one. We've already discussed that nothing can and ever will touch a Datsun Stanza for heating.
Very good.
Yeah.
I have yet to own a vehicle which cools down the occupants any quicker than my Rover 75.
I was so hoping the Rover 75 would feature on this list. It's been mentioned several times on this podcast already.
You have mentioned it several times, and Phil mentioned it in not quite such pleasant terms during his episodes, which I shall be having discussions with him about his comments in due course.
Up with him in due course.
I shall, yes. Well, he likes running, so it may involve a sudden stop at one point. But
yes.
It
might be worth sacrificing the rear window of your XJ for that.
Yeah, possibly. Yes. Although, the problem with Phil is he's only 9 stone soaking wet, so he probably actually wouldn't come through it. But
that's true. Just bounce off your boot lid.
Yeah. Indeed. But no, I like Phil very much.
And not his opinions of your Rover 75.
But yes, no, my Rover 75 was a lovely car.
It was.
Have anyone say anything other?
It genuinely was. I really liked it.
Yeah, and that was the best car I've owned in terms of being able to cool you down quickly. The aircon on that was fantastic.
Interesting.
I very much enjoyed the BMW 740.
That's a solid choice
for comfort.
Mm-hmm.
The Jag's not bad for the same reasons, and when Mike buys an XJR with normal wheels on it and we swap, then I think
that's a standing agreement. Whatever I buy, if it's got different wheels on it, we're going to have to swap.
That's right. Yep. Yes, if they fit.
It's going on.
Yeah.
Yes, you're having mine. So yeah, I've enjoyed driving some 4x4s. As you know, I've had a couple of L200 pickups. I've had a couple of Jeeps. The 3-litre diesel served a purpose for both myself personally and the business for several years, and was used by several members of staff as well,
including Phil.
Including Phil.
Yes.
Yes, he didn't have anything bad to say about that, did he?
He did say it left an oil puddle on one of our largest clients' car parks. But that's another issue.
That's fine. The 5-litre V8 petrol version that I had of that several years before for a few months was more fun.
That is the correct engine.
I've enjoyed those. I mean, I suppose if I can't really choose best because I've had so many. cars. And I mean, not only is best very subjective, it's I don't think I could pick a best car. I think if I had to have if I needed a sort of practical, comfortable daily cruiser, it'd be the E32, the 740i.
That is up there. Yeah.
If I had to pick a car that I wish I still had, and the car that I had the most fun driving, and is probably the top of my I wish I still had that car, it would be the Datsun 280ZX.
Yeah. I can't argue with you on that one. No, something quite special about that, particularly in the spec you described.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. No, there was something both sublime, succinct, and yet still somehow so tacky about it all at once. Yeah, I think that would be that would probably be if I could have any of my car again. I think it would be that one. There's a couple that I absolutely wouldn't touch again with a barge pole. One of which would have been my my only other previous Jaguar, actually, the XJR XJ40.
Right. Okay. Interesting.
That was revolting. I didn't like it. It was uncomfortable. I didn't like the XJ40 styling particularly. I sort of got the car by accident. A friend of mine was selling it. I took a bit of a punt, and I mainly bought it because it had a cherished number plate on it, which was H4 XJR. And I thought, if Jag make another XJR in the future, because there wasn't a current XJR at that time, I thought if they ever make an XJR again, that plate's going to be worth more than the car. And I'm quite sure
they have made several since.
Yes, and it'd be quite interesting to see. I'm just going to do one of those annoying clicky things and not say very much.
It's still going.
See if it's still going, and if so, what it's on. It is on a Jaguar XJR, first registered in 1991, so it's still on the same car.
Bloody hell!
But it ran out. But its MOT ran out in August 2010. So I don't think it's on the road anymore.
Doesn't sound like it, does it? No. That plate's gone to waste then.
Yeah.
That's a shame. And you got to think of those XJ40s, not very many of them were R's.
No, that was very, very rare.
Yeah.
They didn't do many R's of the XJ40.
But I hated it.
Interesting, because the XJ40 was Phil's favourite car, and he said the only car he would, without hesitation, buy back.
Yes, and it's absolutely in my top one of ones I wouldn't.
It would be interesting for you to try one. You may have already tried it, but just a non-R version to see if it were more appealing.
Yeah, because Phil's was a Sovereign, wasn't it? Not an R.
Yes.
I believe.
That's entirely possible.
Yeah.
But what else have I had that I wouldn't have again? I've had a couple of Vauxhalls. I don't have the passionate hatred for them that you do.
It's not hatred; it's just boredom.
No, well, they are insipid vehicles.
They're just tedious. Yeah.
I've driven. I mean, the only one that I've ever owned that was half interesting to drive, but still didn't really look that great, was a Carlton GSI 3000. Never quite made the Lotus Carlton, unfortunately.
No.
But the GSI was okay, but it was a Carlton.
Again, its redeeming feature is that you can pretend to be a plainclothes policeman.
Yes, indeed. Other Vauxhalls of note. Well, I use note in the loosest sense of the word. Well, there was the aforementioned Mother's Nova, which was a featured early on in my life. I had a couple of Cavaliers. I've had a couple of had the Carlton. I had an Omega 2.5 V6. That wasn't a bad car at all.
Like those.
Actually, yes, that was probably my favourite Vauxhall of the ones that I've owned.
They were okay.
It was quite nice. I could tell you about another one that I had an interest in.
Please do.
If which was a Vauxhall. I bought fairly early on in my. I enjoyed an element of financial success fairly early on in my professional career. Clearly, let me have it then.
Been trying to get back there.
Certainly hasn't happened since. But I did buy. It wasn't brand new, but it was an ex-dealer demo. I think it only had about 300 miles on the clock when I bought it. An Astra GTE convertible. I'm just going to check here, but I think it was F555 SLR.
Oh, so Mark II with the digital dash in it.
With the digital dash on it.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yes.
And I had that from quite new. I've misremembered the number. The date's right, but it's a Vauxhall Astra, but it's yellow. And mine was definitely not yellow.
I can't see you in a yellow car ever.
No.
Then in which case we need to talk about a Mercedes in a minute.
Oh shit!
Yellow Mercedes.
Yeah.
Oh, was it an SLK?
No, it was it was a 240e, but the 2.6 Cosworth.
Okay.
Saloon that they did.
Interesting.
And I used to call it the banana boat. I had a kick-ass stereo in it, that car. Anyway, we're going off topic. We're talking about shitty Vauxhalls at the moment.
So not tasty Mercedes.
Yes. So unless either I've misremembered the plate or someone did indeed have it repainted and re-registered in yellow. But
I suppose it's possible.
Yeah. But anyway, yes. Vauxhall Astra GT convertible, digital dash, and had an interesting accident in that. Again, not my fault. And unusually this time didn't involve me collecting any other vehicles during course of said accident.
Well done.
Driving to work one day, minding my business, white van man pulled out from a side turning. So basically, again, my choice was there was nothing coming the other way. So my choice was to T-bone him or go up the pavement on the other side of the road. So I did that, collected no cars, collected no pedestrians, knocked down the church wall.
Oh dear.
Jesus
was very cross with you.
Yeah.
Jesus will not be happy with that.
A very good pun. He he wouldn't be very happy with me. And to this day, if you drive into Staines from the sort of previous roundabout, or Laleham Golf Club, not Laleham Golf Club, Ashford Manor Golf Club, roundabout into Staines, there's a church halfway along there on the right-hand side, and the near corner of their wall is still slightly different coloured bricks to the rest of it.
Dear.
From that accident.
That accident, which would have been 1990, 91, something like that.
Oh, Christ.
So that was that. And yes, we sort of accidentally touched upon the Mercedes. Yes, I had a Mercedes 190E in yellow.
I don't think I've ever seen one of those in yellow.
With the all the sort of Cosworth sports kit on it. Not, I mean, you have to remember, this is, it wasn't in your face RS styling like they did with the Sierras. This was more considerate, sort of, boot lip spoiler like they eventually did on the RS 500, the Sierra Sapphire, and yes, front air dam and side skirts, but very very narrow, very
much
understated.
More subtle. Yes, absolutely.
But again,
no, my dad had one as a company car for a short period.
Right,
wonderful thing.
Yeah, I enjoy that very much. The story I'm reminded of. I purchased it and didn't share it with. It was my car, but I had a friend of mine back in the day called Mick, who was a car dealer, and he used to drive it sometime on his trade plates. And we were out one day in that car in a pub in Windsor. Actually, the Bells of Ouseley at Old Windsor, I recall. And he was one of the first people I ever knew to have a mobile phone. We'd all had car phones at this point.
Oh yeah,
and a couple and a couple of people had the sort of walk around, where you're basically carrying the car battery around.
Oh god, yeah, you got this suitcase to go with it.
But this was one of the first sort of mobile, sort of Motorola, sort of molded plastic things, with the sort of quite tall but solid plastic aerial.
Oh yeah, you'll have someone's eye out with that.
And
the aerial's a bit urgent.
Yes, and he had one of those phones, and we were in the pub that day, and for some reason, it was probably mine because, I still am a golfist, although having not played golf for several years now. But back in those days, I was a very keen golfer, and I think one of my there was a phase in golf of the sort of head covers that you would put on the drivers, and that you could buy cartoon characters and all sorts of weird and wonderful shapes to put on. And I had an Ed the Duck driver cover.
She did.
Obviously, it's a perfect for that.
Exactly. So I had an Ed the Duck head cover that we'd taken into the pub, and he'd put his mobile phone on the bar with this Ed the Duck head cover on it. And the only thing I remember about that car, because we were in it on this given day, and that day was that at some point during the evening's proceedings, Ed the Duck vibrated and fell off the bar.
Oh dear.
Nobody's ever said that before.
No, exactly. So
oh no.
So that was, I think, have I had any other Mercedes? I don't think so. I nearly bought one this time. I nearly bought a...
you did look at a few, didn't you?
Yeah. I nearly bought a CLS.
Oh, I do have a bit of a soft spot for one of those.
Yeah. Grey suit, white shirt, no tie, Ray Donovan. So, nearly bought one of those. There was one for sale at garage in Bideford for months and months during lockdown, because obviously no one could go and see it or buy it. And but it was a bit north of what I was looking to spend. It's gone now, but that was I think it was a 350, I think. CLS 350. I'm quite partial to those, and that might still. It's still on the acquisition radar for future purchases.
Yeah, they're quite elegant for a modern Merc, really, aren't they?
Yes, indeed. Don't think I've had any other Mercedes. You'd have to throw brands at me, really. I forget half of them. But yeah, Vauxhalls. Don't think there was any others. I think we've dealt with Vauxhall. Oh, did have a oh God, what's their Frontera?
Oh dear!
But the short wheelbase version, which looked much better than the standard one.
I mean, the only saving grace was that it was an Isuzu, so it was going to work at least.
It did work. It was very, very bumpy. But we had one of those for a little while, and in fact, when we sold it to the chap that does did and probably still does fish out of Clovelly.
Oh yeah.
He bought it, and I saw it a couple of years later, and of course because it's had subsequently been parked on the seafront at Clovelly,
Holes.
Just rust everywhere.
All
gone.
It was
all gone frilly.
It was the only thing that held it together. But we enjoyed it for a time. That was our first sort of foray into the sort of 4x4 sector. We've never really had many SUVs, which Adam will be pleased about.
They can just do one, can't they?
Yeah. Well, there's a couple that there are a couple that I would consider.
There is one exception to the rule, which has, and we will all agree on this, and that's a Series 1 Range Rover.
It's not an SUV though, so it's fine.
No.
True.
No. Yeah, Series 1 Range Rover would be okay. Never had a Range Rover. Have I had anything Land Rover? Not owned, no. Drove a Freelander for a while, but it wasn't mine.
Dreadful.
And I've done
just as well. Yes.
And I've done event days and experience days, both organised with their vehicles and privately with mates, 90s and 110s.
See, I could have pegged you for a disco, actually.
Again, I've considered them in the past. I like the new ones again now. I couldn't stand the previous two generations with that ridiculously shaped back door and had the number plate offset.
Yes, that was a stupid bit of design, wasn't it?
Yeah, don't like those at all. Series 1 discos I really liked.
If you can get like a 3-door, perfect.
Yeah, that's the thing. If you can find one,
strip it out, stick a roll cage in it, and that would be a fun thing to go play with.
A bit of camel trophy action.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Can't be a bit of camel trophy action.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, no, never had one of those. I don't. Well, here we go. Contention is about to descend upon the conversation. As Mike is well aware, and I think you probably are as well, I do not like Porsches.
It's been lovely having you on. Yeah.
Oh, you're the podcast now.
I don't get them. Yeah, I don't get them. I've been in many. I've driven a few, and no, I don't know. I did see a Taycan the other day.
There are a few around now,
which I thought, I like that, and I think the reason I like it is because it doesn't look like a push from behind.
No,
well, not the classic Porsche.
No, it's in the current Porsche range. Yes. Yes. That's
right. The only Porsche that I've ever liked the look of, actually, I almost bought a 944 once.
It's a good choice.
It is.
But 911s just don't do anything for me.
No.
I've never understood the point of the Panamera. Porsche 959, obviously, I had that poster referring back to one of your earlier episodes. I don't know. Never owned one of those, probably never will.
That's fine. You're allowed your incorrect opinions. It's not.
Yes, it's fine. I do have a soft spot for several Ferraris.
Yes, you often mention that as as your favorite.
Yeah,
that's the goal, is it?
Well, not really. As Mike knows, I'm really not that aspirational about cars and things these days. I mean, if I could, my favourite Ferrari modern Ferrari in terms of styling would be the 355.
I do worry though. Would you actually fit in one?
Well, there is this issue, of course.
They're quite small though. So.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, probably not. But I like how they look. I mean, going further back, obviously, a 365 GTC would be very nice, thank you. But I'm not sure I'd fit in that either.
No,
that's going to have to be just something to look at.
Yeah. Or surgery, one of the two.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah. It's probably not going to happen.
I'd tell you what, one thing I'd quite like to touch on actually.
Go on.
Before we wrapped things up, is you mentioned a little earlier. You mentioned Keke Rosberg.
Yeah.
And I've seen your memorabilia collection.
Yeah.
And it seems you're quite fond of Formula One from quite a specific era.
Yes, I was a massive F1 fan, probably up till. Well, I mean, my interest certainly waned when they started sounding like hairdryers. That's for sure. Yes, I mean, late 90s, I think, is probably where my interest started to come to an end, and mid noughties, I think. I haven't watched a race for 7 years.
Yeah.
Late 80s, early 90s, Rosberg, Senna, Prost, Mansell. That sort of era.
You're in a bit of a sweet spot there, aren't you?
Yeah, I really was. I kind of started with when my sort of earliest recollection was getting into F1, presumably from my father. I don't actually remember what piqued my interest to make a horrible play on words for PK at the time. But he would have been one of the drivers at the time. But the Tyrrell 6-wheeler. And then, very still sort of through the Mansell, Senna, Prost years, and was absolutely delighted at something that no one else will ever achieve of Mansell getting to, albeit briefly, be both Formula One and IndyCar world champion at the same time, which I think was 94 season, I think, was it?
93.
93.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're all over it, aren't you?
So that was good, and I loved the livery on the cars back then. I mean, I was a smoker back in the day. So give me a back when they had those the Williams Renault engine that would do 1,500 horsepower in qualifying trim, and a packet of Camels zipping around in front of you at 140 mile an hour. I mean, what's not to like?
Well, that's it. It's gonna sell cigarettes. That is. We got your Marlboros on your McLarens, and we're all well away.
That's right. But, and you're gonna not put anything other than Elf petrol in your car, and you're gonna go out and buy a Canon camera.
Yep.
There it is.
It's what you did. Yeah. Absolutely.
While drinking Labatt's.
While drinking Labatt's.
There you go.
Very good. Yes, that was on Williams, wasn't it?
That was, yes, yeah. Yeah,
So,
that was. I'd have to agree. That was probably peak era, wasn't it? That was really, really spot on.
I really got. I was into F1. Yeah, say probably for 20 years, and then I'm just not anymore. I might give it another go. But
I mean, it's, to be honest, if you're going to try, it's the year too. There's actually some competition occurring, but it's
okay. It's become slightly less processional again.
Yeah, there's actually a fight for the top position at the moment. It's very odd. It's the first year I've watched it, probably, like you said, since probably 6-7 years since I last watched a race properly.
Okay.
It's one of those things, isn't it? We've been stuck indoors for so long.
Yes.
When the season started, I thought, you know what, I'm going to have a try.
Yep, fair.
But just pot luck that it happened to be a bit of competition. So, worth a look.
I might have to butter you up for one of your spare Sky Go accounts.
Oh, I'm sure that can be arranged.
And
it's mind you that like you mentioned at the beginning of that, where you said the hairdryers, they still sound ridiculous.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, there's no improvement there, I'm afraid.
No.
There's no screaming V10s.
No, that's it. Yeah, give me the V10 or even the V6s weren't too bad, but yeah, what are they running these days? Something ridiculous. 2 and a bit litre 4-cylinder or something, aren't they now?
Well, I think they're even less than that. I think they're about 1.6, aren't they?
Really? All right.
Yeah. I think they're V6s, but
right.
with all the hybrid gubbins to go with it.
All the electricery that runs alongside. I'm tempted to get into Formula E. I noticed is it McLaren that are going to do a Formula E team next year?
I think they're doing that Formula Extreme instead.
Sorry,
actually,
Formula Extreme,
which is the kind of off-road malarkey,
right? But it is McLaren that are doing it.
That's right. Yeah. They've been dipping their toe into various things actually, because they've got a toe in IndyCar as well at the moment as well.
Yes, they do, don't they? They ran. Was it Alonso ran the 500 for them, didn't they? In classic McLaren orange.
That's right. Yeah, and papaya orange. There you go.
Papaya orange.
Dear.
There you go. Yeah. No, I did. I like that. I mean, I got. Respect like a lot of people in this country. I mean, I started watching IndyCar when Mansell went there.
Yes, I think we all did, didn't we?
Right, let's have a look at what this is all about. And I really liked, actually, again, the one of your early podcasts was talking about liveries, and as I said to you away from this, I can't believe that neither of you remembered the Porsche Gulf livery. But that was a big oversight on both of your parts. And
terribly sorry if we missed that.
Consider yourselves chastised.
Oh, shamed.
Indeed. Yes. Don't worry, it's not in the Catholic sense. Yes, and of course I will remember that sort of Newman Haas 94 car or 93, whatever it was, livery. The Kmart.
Mansell's sort of black and white, wasn't it?
Mansell's black and white Kmart special, yes. And just gutted for him that he didn't win. If there hadn't have been that yellow flag, he'd have won the Indy 500 at the time as well. But he just he wasn't used to the rolling starts, was he? And
no,
just got caught out by that. But yeah, that must have been absolutely gutting. But no, very much a fan of his. I think I detect from an early age that I was going to become a miserable old sod, so I could very much relate to one who was good at what he did.
He was. He's certainly a difficult one to interview, particularly if you're part of the media. That's an awkward one, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
A disgruntled Brummie.
If we're about to wrap things up, I said to Mike several weeks ago, I have a little question for you, or an automotive quiz, if you will.
Oh God,
we love a quiz.
Yes. So you touched upon similar things in an earlier recording. You talked about some firsts, and you touched upon safety and all of those sorts of things. And I asked Mike this question, and he didn't know the answer, and he also promised me he wouldn't look it up.
No, and
before I asked him.
All about it.
So we'll see. Then. So we'll see if you know about this. Do you know the first car that ever featured a remote key fob for locking and unlocking?
Oh.
It's not the obvious answer, because I tried that and you said it wasn't, because I said, well, that sort of tech is always first seen on the Mercedes S-Class.
That is what you said, and it is the wrong answer.
It is not that. So that was my guess.
Now I will give you, I can offer you a couple of clues. You have mentioned the vehicle before, and you have mentioned it in relation to Bond.
Oh, really?
Oh, well, that does narrow it down.
It's interesting because that wasn't going to be my guess, actually.
I only said in relation to Bond, not necessarily Bond's cars.
Oh dear.
Right, I'm going to cryptic now.
Yeah, well, I'm going to put you out of your misery.
I was going to go American.
Okay, well, you're equally wrong.
Okay, that's fine then. I won't bother guessing. I thought it was going to be a Lincoln Continental or a town car.
No, it was the Renault Fuego.
Really?
Yes.
That's unbelievable.
And you know how in this country and quite a lot of countries we refer to that key fob as the blipper.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Well, that's actually that's been a slight bastardization, shall we say, of it was originally called the Plipper because it was invented by a guy called Paul Lipschutz. And he took the P from his first name and the Lip from his surname and called it the Plipper, which has then become the Blipper.
Oh, that's fantastic.
That's tremendous. I would never, ever in a million years have guessed the Renault Fuego.
No,
I wouldn't. No, you wouldn't guess a French thing. Do you know what?
No, you wouldn't.
And the other thing about that car, and there's another first, which I am reliably informed, is also the same car, the second generation of the Fuego. What they introduced was the first car where they introduced controls on the steering wheel for the radio.
Wow, I like that.
Wow. Impressive. I don't think even Hubnut mentioned that when he reviewed one a little while ago. That's incredible knowledge.
Very good.
Well, it's just it's one of those things that it's probably the only piece of automotive trivia that I've ever retained, and you probably wouldn't know.
It's probably the only time Renault has had a first as well. That's amazing.
Yeah.
No, that is impressive. I like that. Yeah. I'll tell you what. My original reckoning of it being American, I remember why I thought that. Technically speaking, it was a sort of keyless entry. Do you remember cars of a certain era in America on the driver's door had the number keypad?
No.
They did that, but above the handle on the driver's door, there was a numerical keypad. I think normally in a horizontal line rather than a square keypad, where you could punch in a 4-digit code to unlock the door.
Wow.
Okay, that's very interesting.
That's a new one on me.
I've never seen one of those. The only thing I remember seeing first time, and in fact, I don't ever recall seeing on any vehicles outside of America, was on one of my trips to the States, I picked up a rental, and it was a Ford. What did they call it? The Taurus was effectively the Granada. There was a slightly smaller one. Was it a Tempo?
Tempo, yeah.
Which was their slightly smaller sedan. There you go. There's the American to
there you go.
Make up for the simultaneously earlier.
So that's mended all the bridges there.
Yes, mended all the bridges. Yeah, we didn't manage Fender, but we managed that.
We've got a sedan. Yes.
We got a sedan, and rented this and opened the door, and the seatbelt bit moved across electrically.
Oh God, yes.
To the other side of the door.
Of course.
Yes. My immediate thought was, fuck me, they can't even be bothered to pull the seatbelt on themselves.
Yep. It really isn't far off from that, is it?
It's not. It's true.
The trouble is, you still have to clip in the lap bit, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
And the trouble is, you wonder how many of them actually bothered.
Well, yeah.
But I've never seen that on a car outside North America, I don't think.
No, even in the early days of testing and rules, that would have never have worked over here. No. That would have been got shown the door many times.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Come back when you've done the seatbelt properly.
Yes. Yes. Well, of course, they ended up buying Volvo, the world #1 in that technology. But,
Yes.
Oh,
There
yes.
you go. Yeah.
The glorious voice of reason for all vehicles there.
Well, yes. Oh, yes. Well, we touched upon a couple of Volvos. There was another one, the S. Is it the S?
Yeah, there was an
S60. Was that a thing? What am I thinking of? Small saloon or smallish saloon. S60. Yeah. I think,
that does sound correct. I mean, I know that is a modern.
No,
model.
that's. Yeah, I was going to say that's a modern model. That can't be. Oh yeah, first generation 2000. That's the one. Yeah, first generation 2000 to 2009 S60.
Right. Okay, yeah, that's because they look remarkably similar to the 80, don't they, as well?
Yes.
So,
easy
to get those confused.
There was one of those in the mix with the T5 engine,
the
5-cylinder jobby. Renault engine, I think, wasn't it?
All steady.
Was that a Renault engine?
I think in that era, possibly not.
No, I don't know.
I think
clutching at straws. It was one of the not very long-lived ones that I had. It was the 2.3 liter V5 because they then went to 2.4 in the latter years, but still of the Series 1, I believe. But yeah.
I believe you're right. I think they were actually Volvo engines at that point.
Right, fair enough. So yeah, a couple of those.
Very good. I like that. Well, you're never going to get an argument with me on that.
No, indeed.
No, you are a Volvo man through and through, aren't you?
Well, that's it. Yeah, I basically got the estate version of what you had, so all is well. Mike and I would like to say a big thank you to Matt for telling us his car tales. We thoroughly enjoyed it. Be sure to check out Stuff and Waffle on Twitter and Instagram, and feel free to email stuffandwaffle@gmail.com.